Our first encounter with extraterrestrial life is about to happen. Will it be like in Star Trek First Contact? Or will it be more like Contact with Jodie Foster?
Did you see the movie Contact? Oh.
By the way, did you ever see that movie, Contact?
Seen what?
Contact, Shake.
Starring Jodie Foster. Yeah, I've seen that movie twice.
My contacts.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Paper and Light, the YouTube channel about movie posters. Today we've got a nice warm slice of sci-fi for you. A movie that asks some questions. The big questions. I'm talking about 1997's Contact. So my poster for this film is a genuine barn find. I went to a local antique store that was on this massive property and had several buildings, and I came across this large pile of rolled movie posters on a picnic table in a barn. Some cats had been using it as a makeshift bed of sorts, so I went through them all and grabbed the ones that weren't too soiled, and this antique store was owned by this older gentleman who would just sit in this big chair at the entrance to the store, and if you wanted to buy something, you had to carry it, place it at his feet, and then you would haggle on a price. So I walked up with a bunch of movie posters that were, somewhat smelly, and I offered him $1 a piece, and he looked at me like I was crazy and immediately agreed. It's always nice when both parties feel like they're getting the better end of the deal. This is a double-sided one sheet from 1997, measuring 27 inches by 40 inches. These posters aren't particularly rare, and you can expect to pick one up from anywhere from $10 to $40 at auction. Or just check with your local elderly antique dealer. Contact is based on the 1985 book of the same name by renowned American astronomer Carl Sagan. Sagan was an accomplished scientist, author, and the presenter of the 1980 PBS miniseries Cosmos. He sadly passed away during this film's production, and Contact is dedicated to his memory. He wrote the original 1980 film treatment with his future wife, Ann Druyan, who was a producer on this film and has a short cameo debating Rob Lowe's character on CNN's Crossfire. A picture of Carl Sagan appears in the film as well, along with a title of dedication at the end. The opening of this movie is iconic. We start in an Earth orbital view, and then we cosmically zoom out, traveling through different audio broadcasts, almost like we're traveling back in time. And then eventually we go all the way past deep space and through the iris of our protagonist, Ellie, played by a young Jenna Malone. This traveling through the iris becomes a visual theme of the movie, occurring several times throughout the story. This opening is iconic, so iconic in fact, it's been referenced and spoofed countless times from the likes of The Simpsons, Happy Feet, Loki, Dr. House, and Shaun the Sheep. The opening itself is a reference to the 1977 short film Powers of 10, which is a remake of sorts of the 1968 film Cosmic Zoom, proving that everything is indeed a remix.
They should have sent a poet.
Contact was directed by Robert Zemeckis, famous for directing the Back to the Future films, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Forrest Gump. He actually replaced original director George Miller, famous for his Mad Max films, who was fired by Warner Brothers for taking too long with pre-production and insisting on further script changes. Zemeckis was given full creative control over production and brought his usual flair for attention to detail and innovative camera setups. This shot of young Ellie retrieving some pills from a medicine cabinet is still incredibly impressive 27 years later. The film stars Jodie Foster giving an inspired performance as Dr. Eleanor Ellie Arroway, an astronomer committed to the search for extraterrestrial life.
I felt like Jodie Foster in Contact. It's like I was never there. They don't need me.
I came to and saw a beautiful being made of like a beautiful calming light.
Yeah, same here.
What?
Matthew McConaughey plays her theological opposite, Palmer Joss, and I feel like their dynamic is maybe one of the weak points of the movie. They're on completely opposite sides of the religion versus science debate, and I think the movie could have benefited from some more naturalistic interactions between these two characters. Ellie spends the first act of the film stationed at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, a massive antenna that was built in 1960. Unfortunately, in 2020, the main structure collapsed in on itself, and the site is currently being dismantled. Arecibo is also a major set piece in the 1995 James Bond film GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan.
Yes! I am invincible.
Eventually, Ellie discovers a signal from another world. It kind of just sounds like a repeating transmission of digital noise, and apparently this sound effect was lifted from the classic BBC series Doctor Who. Okay, full disclosure, I've never actually seen Doctor Who. I had to look this up. How many seasons of that show even exist? It's insane. After Ellie discovers the transmission, what follows is a very true-to-life dramatic interpretation of how humanity is going to respond if we're actually ever contacted by an alien civilization. You have Ellie, who's looking at everything through a pure science point of view, dismissing anything that doesn't have any empirical evidence. Meanwhile, there are religious people in power that are interpreting things differently. Everyone's kind of working with their own particular set of core principles, and they want to uphold them at all costs. In a sense, this is a film without any overarching villains. Well, except for this guy, who honestly feels more like a caricature than an actual character. I mean, he might as well be twirling a mustache here. I think the strength of the story really comes from when Ellie is forced to challenge her own principles. It's not a preachy black and white type message movie that is demanding that you accept the answer that it's giving you. It's more of a reflective, big picture kind of movie. And when I first saw it when I was 15, my interpretation of it then is very different from how I interpret it now. Certain sequences and themes really hold up well, while other things like the digital effects are really starting to show their age. One thing that's actually always bothered me is the musical score by Alan Silvestri. He's one of the best in the business, but it really feels like he took his Oscar-nominated score for Forrest Gump and kind of just slightly changed a few things around and turned it in. Those two movies could not be further apart thematically. By the way, have you ever been to a wedding where they play the Forrest Gump theme? It's weird, I think. It's an odd choice. Contact garnered positive reviews and made over $170 million at the box office against a $90 million budget, meaning that Warner Brothers may or may not have broken even on the movie, depending on their advertising budget. There were 3 main posters released for the film, with each one being just a variation on the same design. The posters were created by Intralink Film Graphic Design, a design firm set up by artist Anthony Goldschmidt, responsible for many iconic poster campaigns of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. He shut down the firm in 2011 and sadly passed away in 2016. Did they use the original one-sheet artwork for the physical releases of Contact? Let's see what I was able to find. Okay, so I actually want to start off with the paperback book version of Contact here. Carl Sagan wrote this in 1985. They used this title design for the movie poster itself, which I always thought was a nice touch. This is actually a later printing, very similar cover, but with just a few slight differences. Same photo of Carl Sagan on the back. It's interesting when a movie comes out that's based on a book and then they re-release the book using the artwork from the movie, trying to take advantage of any success that the movie might have. It's kind of like almost a black and white version of the movie poster. I think these older covers are way better than this poster version, but that's just me. Paperback books. Okay, does anyone else, when you see this logo down here, you just kind of get like that little tingle of excitement? This was the good stuff back in the day when you saw that logo on a VHS tape. This is even a special widescreen version of the VHS tape. This was one of those, put this on if you want to test your home theater kind of VHS tapes. It sounds funny to say that about a VHS tape, but that was the case. The sound design on this movie is fantastic. This is the DVD. It's one of these classic Warner Brothers, almost styled kind of like a book. They felt important somehow. It felt like a special edition of a movie when it came in this type of packaging, and these snaps always felt really nice and always seemed to stay secured. I always really liked these. Now we're getting to some real stuff. Next up, we have got Contact on Laserdisc. That is really crisp, really nice. The colors feel really vibrant. There's no vinyl soundtrack that I could find for Contact, but I mean, we've got the Laserdisc, so it's pretty much just as good. And then I am always blown away by just how huge these Laserdiscs are. Just yowza! So just for a size comparison, here is a Laserdisc and here is a standard DVD. So we've got the Blu-ray here. It's a fairly nice edition. It's got all the same special features as the DVD, and it's a okay 1080p transfer. I wouldn't call it amazing. There's a couple of shots that look a little bit soft. Maybe one day they'll come out with a 4K edition. That'd be nice. And lastly, we have the Contact soundtrack on CD. Basically same everything. They use the same photo here as they did in the VHS and DVD releases. Bit of a bare bones release, if I'm honest, just the black CD, and even this booklet is fairly bare bones, not a lot of information on here, so who knows, maybe in the future there'll be some sort of vinyl special edition or something like that. That'd be nice. So what do I actually think of this movie? What's the art score? A is for aesthetics. How good is the design? How pleasing is the typography, the overall visuals, and the vibe of the poster? Basically, is it nice to look at? I think there are certain aspects of this design that really work and others that are not as cohesive. I think the color palette really works and the dusky cloud background is beautiful. It evokes that scene of Ellie listening for a signal late into the night, but the lighting around Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey doesn't really feel like it matches up. They're too brightly lit from multiple angles. It seems clear that this is a composited image of several different elements, made fairly obvious by the harsh transition around Jodie Foster's hair. Also, the sharp focus of the very large array dishes in the background doesn't really feel like it matches actual focal length reality. It should be softer, more out of focus in the back, particularly these obviously duplicated dishes that are supposed to be thousands of feet away from the actors. There's a chance that blending all of these elements and adding a realistic depth of field was outside the capabilities of compositing software of 1997, but that's where a physical painting would have greatly surpassed this. In short, they should have hired a painter, not Paint Shop Pro. The elements that do work well are the typography. As I mentioned earlier, they took the title design directly from Carl Sagan's book, and the rest of the text is nicely understated. And now, it's tagline time. A message from deep space. Who will be the first to go? A journey to the heart of the universe. Not bad, possibly a little long, definitely a little spoilery. For aesthetics, I'm gonna give this poster a 1 out of 3. R is for representation. Does it represent the film very well? Does it match the look and feel and the ideas it's presenting? Is there a sense of story? I do think where this movie fails aesthetically, it sort of makes up for in its representation. It does match the feel of this movie. It's very thoughtful. We've got Ellie with her headphones and laptop, a scientist looking out, waiting for the signal, and we have Palmer Joss just kinda pondering.
You could call me man of the cloth without the cloth.
It's funny to think that even the compositing of this poster is a good representation of the movie itself. Both the film and the poster are starting to show their age when it comes to digital manipulation. For representation, I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 3. T is for titillation. Does this poster inspire any excitement or intrigue? Does it make us want to go watch the movie? When I look at it, it feels like it's the beginning of the story. It doesn't even really hint at the scope of what is eventually on display and the journey that this movie takes you on. So if it titillates me, it titillates what I already know. So I don't know if that's a fair answer, but for titillation, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 3 because that's my take. Okay, so with a current art score of 5 out of 10, this poster is going on a cosmic journey right straight down the middle of the road. But what of that final point? What did my wife think? Well, there you have it. With a final art score of 5 out of 10, seems kind of obvious that this poster doesn't really reflect what a quality movie Contact is. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend checking it out, even just for Jodie Foster's performance alone. She's always worth watching. There's some, video game-y type sequences that might turn you off, but overall, I love that this movie is trying to tackle such an interesting, vast, crazy subject of science versus religion. Kind of incredible that this even exists. I would say we need more movies like this.
Did you love your father?
What?
Your dad, did you love him?
Yes, very much.
Prove it.
Love has meaning, yes. Social utility, social bonding, child rearing.
We love people who have died. Where's the social utility in that?
None.
Maybe it means something more, something we can't yet understand.
Good art makes you feel, and this poster makes me feel grateful. I am so grateful that there are genuine people out there that devote their entire lives to the pursuit of just trying to figure out how things work in the natural world. Astronomers, mathematicians, physicists, engineers, philosophers, they're all just trying to gather data and different points of view and different opinions and theories. That's amazing to me, and I am grateful for that.
There are some religious figures that put spirituality or the idea of a higher power somehow on the other side of science, when in fact we're all involved in the same quest, which is to find out about our origins and to find out of whether we're alone or not.
Well, thanks a lot everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this cosmic journey through Contact. I believe any good collection needs to be shared, and in the spirit of that, I'm gonna be giving away a mini Contact collection of sorts. So first up, we've got the paperback Carl Sagan book. You gotta read that first. Second up, you wanna watch the movie. Well, you can watch it in the best available quality. That's the Blu-ray. 1080p, baby. Not too bad, not too bad, not too bad. And then we're gonna cosmically zoom out a couple of years, and bam, we've got the VHS for you to watch. Don't laugh, these things are becoming collectible, particularly when they have that sweet, sweet THX logo on it. Yeah. If you'd like a chance to win this mini Contact collection, all you need to do is head over to my Patreon, the link to which will be in the description box below. We do major giveaways with every episode of Paper and Light. Your name will be entered into a draw, and we ship worldwide. I really appreciate that support, which goes towards getting even more interesting movie posters to show you in the future. We're going to be sticking solely on planet Earth for our next episode, which is about a gritty crime drama from 2013. Oh, make your guess in the comments as to what that might be. Thank you again for watching. I can't wait to show you more.
I woke up in a dirty metal dome, and 40 little gray aliens watched me pee in a steel bowl. When they took the bowl, walked out.
Interesting.